Go now and remember Argyl's words.
Even though there was a lot of violence towards the end of the latest episode of Invincible Season 4, in my opinion, it was still pretty wholesome. Which, in this lore, is the basic indication of the calm before the storm. Now that Mark is all healed up from his mega fight with Conquest, and Nolan and Oliver have also joined in on the fight, the plot is about to get more juicy than ever. Plus, if you watch this show exclusively for the love of gore, this is your hint to be on the lookout for the next 2 episodes, because this is about to be an absolute bloodbath. Episode 6 ended with the Great Thadeus preparing the coalition of planets and their allies to take the fight to the Viltrumites on their homeland itself, after hearing that Thrag has ordered every last one of his generals to recoup at home in order to prepare for a counterattack. So, after the Viltrumite assault on the strongest of the coalition of planets, the war is on. Naturally, that has most fans gripping the edge of their seats and biting their nails about what's to come. Sure, the comic readers like myself have an idea about that, but for the ones exclusively following the show, stay with us as we discuss what might happen in the penultimate episode of Invincible Season 4.
They will fall before our armies as easily as they fall before our fists.
We're about to meet another scary Viltrumite female in the next episode. Like I mentioned earlier, all 9 Coalition heroes are now more fueled up than ever to take the fight to Viltrom and eviscerate them once and for all. So, if Kirkman ends up following the source material, I'm guessing that a telescreen ship containing Space Racer, Tech Jacket, Omni-Man, Kid Omni-Man, Invincible, Alan the Alien, General Telia, Battle Beast, and Thadeus are traveling towards Viltrom. But just as they leave the ship and head straight into Viltrom, they witness why the Viltrumites consider their homeworld to be a tomb, as it is a monument to those who fell victim to the Scourge virus. Now, the planet has a ring of floating Viltrumites that are preserved by the coldness of space, which can be seen from miles away, and one of Thragg's generals, named Thula, used that morbid ring as camouflage to hide among those dead bodies. She not only manages to alert Thrag of the incoming threat right away, but also surprise attacks Thadeus by injuring him with the blade attached to the end of her abnormally long braid. But before she could do any further damage, Battle Beast volunteers to take care of her, thus allowing the rest of the crew to draw their focus towards Thrag, leading an entire army of Viltrumites towards them. Nolan and Mark will be discussing about their future. So, in the comics, when Mark and Nolan wait to reach Viltrom on the Coalition ship, they initially revel about how advanced Telescria is, especially because they managed to completely rebuild their destroyed cities in a span of 3 days. When Nolan mentions how much he enjoys living on the alien planet, Mark intensely asks if he wanted to stay there after the war. In response, Nolan mentions that while he could not be sure, he has no reason to go back to Earth, especially because everyone hates him there. This part actually aligns with the route that the show is taking, as we did see how disappointing Nolan's trip was to Earth. So while the show will probably mold this conversation to fit Oliver into the mix too, my guess is that the outcome will remain the same. We might get a Thrag origin story. I don't know about you, but I love how the show chooses to flesh out each character of importance. Omni-Man's backstory was one of them because his upbringing under the Viltrom regime helped us understand why he was the way he was before he came to Earth and encountered Debbie. Any emotion is beaten out of a Viltrumite since they're children, to the point that the weakest kids don't even survive. Even when Nolan lost his parents to the Scourge virus, he was not allowed to show any emotion, so not caring about anything or refusing to harbor any empathy is all that a Viltrumite understands. Similarly, there are rumors on the shallow corners of the internet that we might be getting a proper Thrag backstory, similar to that of Nolan. I'm truly excited for that one, because it'll not only be exclusive to the show, but will also help us understand what drove him to become such a ruthless and evil leader. More importantly, comic readers know of the dark secret that Thrag has been hiding from everyone for thousands of years. And while I'm not going to spoil that just yet, I do believe that if we get to see his backstory in the show, it might drop a few hints that would build up to a full circle when the moment finally arrives. Oliver is about to have another tryst with death again. I say this with nothing but well wishes in my heart, that Oliver is absolutely not ready for a war on this scale. Yeah, he's very powerful, but not enough to challenge someone as powerful as Thragg, who is pretty much the craziest Viltrumite to exist. I mean, Conquest was scared of Thragg, so you can imagine what that guy is capable of. Even if Space Racer does manage to gather a few Ragnars in the comics, they still stand no match against an army of pure-blooded Viltrumites. In Thadeus' defense, he already alerts Mark and Oliver not to directly engage with Thragg, but oh well. They really did F around and find out, because not only did Thragg swat Invincible away like a fly, he also ripped Oliver's arm out of his shoulder and broke his jaw. You really don't talk smack to the Emperor of Viltrom in that tone, because it's clear that Oliver and Mark had no idea what Thragg was truly capable of. As an unconscious Oliver and his broken arm floats amidst the chaos of the battle, Mark directly goes for Thragg and pummels him, but that only results in a lame nosebleed. But in the comics, Invincible does not seem to care, because he believes that if he could kill Conquest, Thragg can also be taken down. Even if that news takes Craig and Anissa by surprise, unfortunately, neither Mark nor Thragg get to find out the conclusion of this fight, as Thadeus has a very different strategy in mind. We might just see the most powerful planet in the universe getting destroyed in the next episode. As the battle is in full progress, with only bloodbath in sight, Thadeus decides to use the element of surprise against the Viltrumites when they're all distracted. That is when he calls for Space Racer to discuss something while Nolan is punching Anissa and Battle Beast is using Thula as a weapon to swing her across space. Just when Alan and Tech Jacket try to figure out what's actually going on, Thadeus orders Space Racer to fire a gun directly at the planet of Viltrom. He then grabs Mark away and asks the rest of the crew to move away at a faster speed before the core stabilizes and ends up killing. Thadeus insists that everyone stay close so they can time it perfectly and reach the planet all at the same time. Apparently, if the core has time to stabilize, they could all die on impact. When Mark tries to catch up with everyone, Nolan pulls him along so they can move faster, and just like that, we see Space Racer firing his gun into the open planet's core so that the trio can fly through it. As the gun pierces through the planet, they move through it and successfully destroy Viltrom for good. Although they do get caught by a few Viltrumites, the planet's destruction causes a massive shockwave that completely knocks the combatants unconscious. As the impact destroys the planet for good, Alan urges all Viltrumites to surrender, and Mark rushes to catch hold of Oliver's floating body amidst the chaos. Just like that, the so-called greatest planet in the universe meets its explosive end. The Great Thadeus finally meets his tragic end. Sure, their planet is destroyed and they have nowhere to run, but even then, most Viltrumites seem to be in pristine condition. In fact, they're now more enraged than ever after losing their homeworld and their emperor. Thragg, who seems to have suffered 0 injuries from the shockwave, also shares their rage. Now, Thragg is not crazy like Conquest, but he is 10 times more ruthless than the greatest of Viltrumites. Unlike Conquest, he does not relish the fight through dialogue, but comes directly for the kill, which is exactly why his comeback to Oliver was catching hold of the boy's punch and ripping his arm out of his shoulder. We've already seen how Thragg is obsessed about avenging Argol, and given his patriotism for Viltrom, Thragg literally started crying at the sight of his planet's destruction. Naturally, he tells Thadeus how he will not stand for this. He even goes on a rant about how the betrayer set the destruction of Viltrom in motion through centuries, but apparently Thadeus argues to be prepared for everything. Unfortunately, with their heritage, history, and home destroyed, the Viltrumites had nothing left to surrender, and all that was left was their thirst for revenge. Then, in a matter of moments, Thragg rushes towards Thadeus with full force, knocking Nolan and Alan away. He then rips the betrayer's head from his body and crushes it in order to weaken the morale of the coalition. As Nolan and Alan watch this unfold in absolute horror, Thragg declares how he finally avenged Argyle at long last. During this time, as Mark cries at the thought of Oliver dying, Alan and Nolan get ready for another round of battle with a few very angry Viltrumites. Honestly, I'm very excited to see how Robert Kirkman translates this particular scene into the screen, because the fall of the Great Thadeus is one of the most gut-wrenching deaths in the comics. You expect a big fight instead of just a quick death, but knowing how nasty Thragg's temper is, anyone who challenges him ends up facing the inevitable. Conquest might be a lie. Now, it's already been declared by Robert Kirkman himself that Season 4 will be taking a lot of liberties to deviate from the comics, and so far we've seen some rather refreshing and meaningful changes. But not in my wildest dreams did I ever think that Conquest's death might be one of them. Honestly, I'll be so disappointed if that happens, because Mark had a good fight with that madman. Not once, but twice. Not just that, Conquest also dies exactly how he does in the book, as Mark strangles him until his eyes turn red and he stops breathing. But the mid-credits scene of the last episodes made our suspicions rise, as the ending shot lingers on Conquest's burial site without any relevance. If Conquest actually does make it out alive yet again, it not only raises inconsistencies on what kind of powers Viltrumites hold, but also renders the species almost unkillable. Because what do you mean that the dude we saw stop breathing can magically come back to life after being buried 6 feet deep underground for 2 full months? I mean, how did he breathe? More importantly, how did he manage to heal without sustenance? I really hope Conquest stays dead, because really that bald freak had made Mark bleed worth 2 lifetimes. In case he doesn't, Viltrumites of the show are about to find out about a massive power upgrade. And that brings us to the very end of this video. Now tell me, honestly, especially the ones who've read the comics, do you guys really want Conquest to come back from the grave? If so, how do you think the creators of the show will explain his rise? Let us know your answers in the comments below.